We break down the Chicago Bears' loss to the Chargers next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner.
Man, I'm confident in our offense, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's got some nice
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube and rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to break down another Chicago Bears loss, but it's good to be back. You might hear it in my voice. I'm still battling a sickness. My family all got sick last week. I was one of the casualties. And that's what happens when you have 2 preschoolers. So I'm just going to gut it out. This is the best I've felt all week. So hopefully we can get through this entire show and break down the Bears versus the Chargers. Also, forgot to mention, down below, make sure to rate the show 5 stars out there on Apple Podcasts so you can be in the running for a Darnell Wright jersey. Just simply click the link below, rate 5 stars, and we will announce it once we reach 58 5-star reviews. But let's break down another Bears loss. And guys, it's getting exhausting now, right? I feel we all feel this way, that it's another game where you sit down, but as Bears fans, we watch the entire thing. You are listening to a show about this team that does not win. We are diehard Bears fans, and we love this team, so it is frustrating when you see the Bears lose again, especially in the NFC North, where the Packers look like trash. The Lions, we'll see if they're real or not, right? And I know that they're playing Monday night when I'm recording this right now, so we'll see how they end up performing. But also, then you have the Vikings losing Kirk Cousins. It just kind of stunk. It just kind of added this extra sting to it, in my opinion. But overall, Bears throw for 232 yards from Tyson Bagent, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, 1 sack. But rushing the football, we averaged 2.9 yards on the ground for 73 yards a carry. And on the flip side, the defense allowed 298 passing yards, no sacks, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns from Justin Herbert. But on the a good feeling is that we only allowed 2.2 yards a rush on the ground. Austin Eckler only 1.9 yards a carry on 15 carries. So there's at least that. There's at least that silver lining of at least stuffing the run, but we'll break down the defense a little bit later. First, we got to talk about the main event, the Bagent. Tyson Bagent, we have to break down how was his game. And reviewing this, on first watch, I really liked what I saw, right? He has that kind of quick release, and there was a handful of plays I really liked where he saw one thing, quickly goes to another read, and then threw a check down to Deonta Foreman. I thought that was a very good just example of his skill set. We talked about him being more of a West Coast type of a passer, quick release, and he does have velocity on his throws. I still don't trust his deep ball, and you did see it on the Velus throw. It did kind of come out like a lame duck, and Velus in return acts like a lame duck and completely drops the pass. But I do think that Bagent is really that short intermediate type of a passer, and that's not completely faulting him. I think that's where his sweet spot is, but he really gets the ball out quick. 2.57 seconds per throw charted by PFF. That's pretty good. That's very quick, getting the ball out. And the flip side, right? Where's the but? But Tyson Bagent did have 4 turnover-worthy passes on only 37 attempts. So that's really putting the ball in harm's way a lot. 10% of the time, putting it in harm's way. That's not great. But he is very inexperienced, and you shouldn't just fault him and now he's not going to be a good quarterback. To me, when I watch him, having this type of a player as a backup quarterback that we got undrafted, who's on an undrafted contract, to me, this is nothing but a win. And I root for him. I root for every Bears player to succeed. And I saw some people out there on Twitter like rooting against him. It's like, come on, he's a Chicago Bear. Root for someone, right? But I do think that Tyson Bagent, I like his kind of quick release. I like that he's kind of this West Coast quarterback, and I like that he's our backup. And I don't think that there's going to be a quarterback controversy, a quarterback battle this year. Justin Fields is the quarterback. And it would have to take something absolutely catastrophic for Bagent to be that starting quarterback. But if you disagree with me, let me know down below in the comments. And let's actually talk a little bit about Justin Fields. Even though that he didn't play, there's still a lot of stuff out there about Justin Fields. And to me, I love Justin Fields. I absolutely want him to be the guy, and that's where I'm looking optimistically with this. Last year, we saw this with Trevor Siemian. When Siemian had to come in for Fields, Justin Fields never really got his running backs involved in the passing game last season until Trevor Siemian became the backup quarterback, and we saw Trevor Siemian leverage Montgomery a lot more last year. What did Justin Fields do right after that? He ended up incorporating the running backs and using a lot of what he saw with Trevor Siemian, it's seemingly into the next couple weeks. This is where I'm optimistic. I hope that Justin Fields looks at this, and it's different when you see someone else doing your job. I think we can all relate to this in our own jobs. When you see someone else doing the same job as you in a different way, you go, okay, maybe I can incorporate some of that into what I do. And we know Justin is a student of the game. I would love to see, does Justin speed up his time to throw? Not processing, but just the overall time to throw, because that's what Tyson Bagent has been doing. And I think, because you see 2.57 time to throw, and Justin's usually a little bit over that 3-second mark. So maybe it is a little bit quicker as he's kind of seeing that ball get out a little bit quicker. You guarantee that the coaches want to see that as well. So that's something that I'm at least a little bit optimistic about. I think that Justin is a student of the game. He's probably going to be looking at this stuff and saying, hey, I could maybe do that. I could maybe incorporate that a little bit into my game and take out some of the other pieces about Tyson Bagent's game. It's no secret that Justin has been holding on to the ball a little bit too long, and it's been a big critique. Also, just getting the ball out, period. So that is something that I'm hoping he at least takes from that game. But guys, we got to move on from this quarterback conversation, because I guarantee some of those things that I just said really offended some people. And it just seems to be a giant minefield when anybody talks about these Chicago Bears quarterbacks, and I don't understand why. As long as I want them to be better. Everyone should want your quarterbacks to be better. It's the most important position out there. But let's go over to the offensive line, because I do think that this week especially, the big question was going to be Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. Now, Bosa hasn't looked as great as he normally has, but Mack is still pretty good. And we did see that. The offensive line did struggle. And when you look at the offensive line numbers, you look at Lucas Patrick. PFF gave him a 31.8 pass blocking grade. Larry Borum, a 39.5 pass blocking grade. I said this before. Larry Borum, to me, I like him as a swing tackle, but now he's extended he's been here too long. We now need Braxton Jones back in, right? For that 4-week stint, Larry Borum wasn't terrible. Now he's going back to, Larry, you shouldn't be out there anymore. We need Braxton back. So hopefully we can get Braxton back there at the left tackle to at least kind of shore up that side. But when you're looking at the pressures that were allowed, Larry Borum, 4 pressures allowed, not great. Cody Whitehair 1, but it was that one very epic sack that he did allow. Darnell Wright, only 2 pressures allowed. Tevin Jenkins 3, and Lucas Patrick 1. But yet again, it's much more when you talk about the PFF grades. It's much more than just the number of pressures. It's how they look overall. And to me, Lucas Patrick still kind of shows he's not a good center. He's not a good center, and we still need a center out there. So whether it is Cody Whitehair learning how to snap the football and getting people in the right alignment, or we have to just kind of suffer through with Lucas Patrick, I think that is what's really causing a lot of issues. But I will say, Tevin Jenkins really does look to be a right guard. Yes, he did allow 3 pressures, but overall, when you look at him in the running game, he moves people, and he seems to be very comfortable at that right side. We had a very small sample size of him at left guard, but I just don't think that he was as good at left guard as he was at right guard. We'll still have to monitor Nate Davis's return from his high ankle sprain, but I do like Darnell. I do like Tevin Jenkins at that right guard spot right next to Darnell, right? Because it's kind of this gigantic wall that we have to be able to move the pile. But we'll see what ends up happening. My guess is Tevin's just going to switch back over to left guard. So hopefully he can still have the same production. But Nate Davis is definitely someone to watch out for. But really, I'm just hoping it's really that left side of the line right now, where you have Larry Borum struggling, Lucas Patrick at the center kind of struggling, and Cody Whitehair, to me, just really looks to be a shell of himself. And it's really sad because he's someone who is very respected in this locker room, and he just hasn't played like the same person that we're used to seeing. Now, on an optimistic side, there in optimistic / serious, there is, whenever I watch Cody Whitehair, this is his 7th year or however many seasons he's been with the Bears, it always seems like he struggles, and then he has a tear of being like one of the best offensive linemen in the league, where he just looks ungodly amazing. Hopefully something like that happens, but I'm not optimistic that that will happen anytime soon. But Cody does consistently have a string of not playing great and then a string of playing great. So hopefully it kicks in sooner rather than later. But overall, this offense, it was disappointing. And the running game, though, and I'll just kind of touch base a little bit more on some of these. The running game, Darrington Evans had a good game. Deonta Foreman, Roschon Johnson, I thought they were solid. But I really think that the Chargers were just trying to lock down that running game. And they did. For all intensive purposes, Deonta Foreman, 3.8 yards a carry, and Roschon Johnson, 3.5. Something that does scare me with Roschon Johnson, though, is he does still lower his head. Right after coming back from a concussion, I love his high-impact plays. But still, you just got to watch where your head goes, man, because I don't want you to get concussed again and be out for a longer period of time. And last little bit that I want to touch base on with the offense, Cole Kmet getting involved. So it's good to see Tyson does, in fact, know his tight end exists. 10 catches for Cole Kmet on 10 targets, and you could still see him fighting out there, which I do like. DJ Moore, 6 targets for 4 receptions. Darnell Mooney targeted 4 times, only 1 reception for 41 yards. And I got to say, I do fault some of the refs, but I do agree with what Matt Eberflus had to say about Darnell Mooney's catch, that first catch of the game. He has to sell that, right? After he caught it, he got up like he was down. He got up like, okay, play's over, and then they blew the whistle. You got to just keep on running, man. You got to sell that. You got to run. So I do fault the refs, but I also fault Darnell Mooney for not just running, right? You caught the ball, go. So I think that it's equal parts to blame, but I want to see Darnell Mooney get more involved. And last but not least, Velus Jones, what are you doing out there? Right. Right now, you just see that he does make these boneheaded mistakes. He had the kick-catching interference, and you can't trust him to return punts. It's hard to have him on this team. And I do think that this is his last year with the Chicago Bears. Does he get cut today? I don't think that the Bears are in the business of doing that, but I do think he's not going to be a Chicago Bear unless something crazy ends up happening. But speaking of stuff that we hope something crazy happens, this defense. This defense was playing well when it didn't have good quarterbacks that were out there. But the Bears defense out here did not play well. And I'd say the biggest thing was we got back to being on easy mode, right? We let so many catches happen right in front of us. It was kind of what we saw before the Bears defense was doing a lot better. We were allowing the easy stuff, and Justin Herbert said, okay, I'll just do quick little passes. They'll catch the ball, and then they'll get an overall big game. And it's just frustrating. I think that's what really kind of diffuses the fandom in your mind, is when you're watching this going, he's right there. He's right in front of you. Play up on him. Make the tackle. We missed a lot of tackles, and I think I have this up here. Kyler Gordon, 20% missed tackle rate. Elijah Hicks, 20% missed tackle rate. TJ Edwards, 20% missed tackle rate. And Jack Sanborn, 11% missed tackle rate. Tyreek Stevenson, 7% missed tackle rate as a cornerback. Not terrible, but still, you saw a lot of missed tackles out there for the Chicago Bears. You got to be making those tackles. Flus was talking about it. If only we had a principle that didn't allow for penalties because this team was penalized like crazy and also missed tackles, right? That's the theme of this team, but that's also where I think we lost because we had so many penalties, so many dumb penalties. Then we had so many missed tackles. Where how do you expect to win? I think this is just a poor team performance all the way through. And this defense, it becomes so frustrating when they just allow the easy dinking and diming it across the field when no one's tackling either. So it's frustrating. I think that especially from the defensive side of the football, right? Flus was making this look better. We have Snow to look for the week ahead. Snow's first task was the Chargers, right? I know that last week we we're all excited about the Bears defense. This was his first assignment for the Chargers. So hopefully it wasn't his game plan to say, you know what, let's just chill back a little bit. But I do think overall, let's see. Let's take this week by week. Will this look better next week against the Saints? The Saints, they have a kind of an off and on offense. That's going to be something definitely for us to look out for. But I do think it's also pretty easy when you're not generating a lot of pressure, and we know that this defensive line does not create a lot of pressure. Just looking at the win percentages, Andrew Billings, another good game, 16.7% win rate, and I did see him break up a couple plays. Yannick Ngakoue, 12.5% win percentage, which is pretty good. And then Justin Jones, 4%. DeMarcus Walker, 3.8%. And Khalid Kareem, 5.3%. Now, even though that Khalid Kareem's was at 5.3%, he looked better, in my opinion, than a Rasheem Green. At least that is somewhat of an upgrade coming back off of IR. So there's that, but still nothing great. But now let's talk about the secondary, because today there was some interesting news. Jaquan Brisker, turns out he's got a concussion after not playing. They rediscovered this. This is something that nobody's really, I don't know many times that I've seen this happen. So did the independent evaluator miss something? Does this happen during practice when he was participating? Lots of questions that are out there. But I do think that you see what happens when we don't have the safeties out there. We talked about this ad nauseum in the offseason, that the Bears didn't necessarily have the most depth in that secondary. Similar to like a Larry Borum, I didn't mind Elijah Hicks, but when Elijah Hicks is your starter week after week after week after week, you go, okay, where's our starters? We need our starters back as soon as possible. And I understand that not every team's healthy, but right now, the safety position with Eddie Jackson seemingly being out every week, even though he was healthy this week, he really wasn't out there. Jaquan Brisker, not out there. We really need this team. And maybe, and now I kind of have the 2 and 2 together, maybe Jaquan Brisker not being out there was because he was out because of an illness. Maybe that was the illness was actually just a concussion, right? Why did it go this long without being diagnosed? I don't know. But I do think that we need these safeties out here. The safeties play a heavy role in this system, this cover 2 system. Even though it's not always cover 2, the safeties are a big piece. And I think when you get them back, I think this helps solidify this overall secondary a lot more. And I do think that this defense really needs it. But what's next for this Bears defense? What's next for this Bears team, right? You can only take it 1 week at a time. Let's see what happens with Justin Fields. Is Justin going to be coming back this week, right? I'm very curious down below in the comments too. Who do you actually want to see out there next week? Do you want to see more Tyson Bagent, or do you want to see Justin Fields get back out there? To me, I saw enough from Tyson Bagent. I saw 2 starts. Like I said, I am a Justin Fields fan. I love Justin Fields. I love the story with Tyson Bagent. That's awesome. But Justin Fields has so much potential, and I want to just see if he's the guy, if he's the person that they make him into what I think he could become. So to me, I want to see Justin Fields out there. I want to see him lead the team. I want to see Braxton Jones back out there. I want to see this offensive line especially, kind of gel, have Fields, and this defense. Let's get healthy. let's get some pressure, and hopefully we can come back and look competent and have a close game against the New Orleans Saints. But thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you're out there still watching, make sure to like and subscribe and rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Stay tuned for some more content. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and you know that she